Good morning and namaste to all. There's a saying in English, all good things come to an end. But this study camp might come to an end, but the Swadhyayana will continue wherever we are. Samishti Adhyayana is what we have done. As Sri Ram used to say, after you get back to your home from the conventions, you carry a little bit of Adiyar, little bit of the spirit with you and start studying once more with all the intent and purpose to gain wisdom. That is what he used to say at the closing of the conventions every year. So we are perhaps coming to the last two sessions of this study of the book. As it was said, is a lecture given by Madam Radhaji. So we have covered her introduction, and then we took up know by personal experience, and then we said wisdom is practical. We also talked about sorrow and evil, and then we also covered sense, that oneness in nature, and then we moved over to next segment where we talked extensively about altruism is yoga, because yoga was a very popular topic. Everybody contributed their might. Altruism is yoga. And then observe what is happening within. This also we covered last evening. So now we move to the next segment. Yes, we also covered purifying the mind. That was also done. And we have picked up only salient points from the book. Maybe like we have commentaries on those three jewels by others. We have added a lot of things which out of our study which comes, so that the basics of theosophy are also considered, and we moved with the book, with the spirit of the book. So today we will take up this rightness in action. Rightness in action. So this is the session or segment which she's talking about, and Radhaji says, she assumes, so she says, we have understood what self is and decided the place it occupied in our being. Then, out of the denial which the petty self gets into, the higher self and the petty self gets into so many things which are not required to be there for the outer self or the real self to emanate or flower. So if the petty self is denied, the denial is born out of true righteousness in action. This is what she is saying. The heading is rightness in action. She covers it up immediately in the first few lines. It is something to do with righteous action. Normally, man calls some actions as right by the rules or procedures laid down by the society. She says we're not talking about those right actions. Those right actions we're doing or we are complying with because we are scared that we'll break the law, we will be punished, etc., etc. That's not the right action we are talking about. We're not talking also about the right actions which the conventions have built in over a period of time, the practices which have been built in over a period of time, approved by the society, or these practices have come about due to passage of time. So we're not talking about those conventions too, those practices too. And She says, when I, the concept which I have developed very carefully over a period of time, maybe over a period of lives, when I, the false me, is removed and the seeking of the lower self stops. We said petty self some time back. Now she's using a different expression. When the seeking of the lower self stops, what comes out of such a emptying of the petty self or lower self, from that voidness, from that emptiness, is born the righteous action. Righteous action is coming out of that emptiness, that void, which has been created by removing the so-called petty self or lower self. So that's what we are supposed to be doing day in and day out, because it comes back very, without our notice, it comes back and stays with us. So we should be very careful. We talked about the self-analysis which the Pythagorean students used to do. We are also told by Madam Blavatsky that the Pythagorean discipline is something which all members of the Theosophical Society also can adapt in their lives. And I remember Radhaji talking to the new members on the 1st of January at the close of the convention. She was also saying, it is not just to be the right kind of living people that we are joining the Theosophical Society. We don't want to be recognized as right, but we become right. That becoming right is something which we have to remember. So she said that emptiness, that voidness, from that voidness emanates righteous action. It is coming out of the pure being, the being which has become pure. There are no impurities. So we have to, like we have perhaps the ordinary example of removing the impurities from water, we use a filter. The mind is our filter. So it keeps on sieving and throwing off what is not required. So Radhaji quotes from the Key to Theosophy, and she says, ethics is the soul of the wisdom religion. Ethics is the soul of the wisdom religion, which is Theosophy. We have seen it extensively the other day. So wisdom religion should, when we accept it totally, it should lead us to what is called the life full of ethics, ethical life. Theosophy and ethics. Ethics is Theosophy, is what she said. Wisdom religion is full of ethics. Theosophy and ethics, they are there to purify the soul. She's gone one step higher, not talking about the lower self, not the petty self. Now she's saying Theosophy and ethics have to purify the soul. And if that soul has to work for relieving the suffering all around. So I just read it for the sake of remembering, so that we should remember this. Theosophy and ethics have to purify the soul if it is to relieve suffering which we see all around. She's saying even the physical suffering, if you see somebody physically suffering, that state, from that state if you are operating, it should be of relief to that particular person. So that is what we are working at, and that is what will promote universal brotherhood. The other person may be related to me, not related to me, somebody who is on the road, not able to walk, maybe he's dragging himself forward, but can you send a thought to him that it can be better life for him at least the next time? So these are all the things which one can do using our conscious thought and the power the thought has. In fact, all the religions, all the dharmas, religion equated to dharma, because we talked yesterday, there's no religion higher than truth, which is coming from Satya Nasti Paro Dharmaha. So she says, in fact, all the religions, dharmas, talk about ethics. These have gone through changes over a period of time. It's not the propounder of a religion who has suggested the changes, but the followers of the propounders, those who have bent those rules to their convenience and gave currency to those bent rules as part of religion. So this is what has happened over a period of time. The dharma or the religion have changed. The concept of the original founder of the religion is one, but the followers have changed it to suit their convenience. So now she quotes HBB. She says, a tree is known by its fruits. A tree is known by its fruits. Similarly, all religions are based on ethics. All religions are based on ethics. We know for sure the religion of Christianity speaks about the 10 Commandments. Similarly, the Quran also gives certain commandments. Our Sanatana Dharma also says certain commandments. So these are common in all religions. So a tree is known by its fruits. Similarly, all religions are based on ethics, and we should understand the commandments and live by those commandments. That's the purpose of Dharma. And she says, mass of scientific information, huge quantity of scientific information, may not do good, but a little self-knowledge can bring peace and harmony to the entire humanity. Mass of scientific information may not do good, because if you're inventing even better equipments to destroy humanity, that science is not leading to welfare or creating harmony. And so at that point of time, when she gave the lecture in 79, she is saying, mass of scientific information may not do good, but a little self-knowledge, if some information, that self-knowledge has led to wisdom, Atma Vidya, we have caught hold of in some way by contemplation, meditation, and study. That's the way. It can bring peace. It can bring peace and harmony to the entire humanity. So we considered yesterday the 3 great truths, and she is giving one of the truths, and she says, we said yesterday that novel was written by Madam Mabel Collins, The Ideal of the White Lotus. She says the soul of the man is immortal, and its future is the future of the thing whose growth and splendor has no limit. This is quoted by her in the book. We have 3, but she has chosen this particular one. The soul of man is immortal, there is no death to it, and its future is the future of the thing, that means soul, whose growth and splendor has no limit. So the more you work, the more splendid it becomes. The more you put your effort towards expanding that consciousness, the more it becomes full of splendor. So that's what she's suggesting. We think as human beings, we have evolved, and we also feel our consciousness is different when compared to the consciousness of other kingdoms, says Radhaji. Human beings have evolved, and the consciousness we feel is different when compared to the consciousness of other kingdoms. We know Theosophy says there is only one life, one consciousness which is moving like a wave, continuous wave. But the human being what he is, he says, My consciousness is different. I've got an authority in other kingdoms. This is the problem. So, man's consciousness is capable of getting to know, man's consciousness is capable of getting to know the non-material, intangible facts and also feel these intangible facts and these material facts are actually truths. This is what, with that limited consciousness which he has evolved, he thinks the intangible facts, or sometimes the material facts, he says they are truths. But this faculty of assessing the intangible is there in all human beings or all human consciousnesses, but not all are aware of it. So this is perhaps what the third object is talking about, to explain the unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in man. Everybody has that power, provided we pay attention to it. So she says the faculty is there in every human consciousness, and these consciousnesses, they should work towards that. And she says the civilization and the greatness of civilization depends on actually the intangible aspects of life, not the material facts of life. How much of city has developed, how many skyscrapers have come, that's not the yardstick. But how much of intangible assets these civilizations really have taken it forward, that's the measure that the civilization has really progressed. And what are those intangible assets? She lists out beauty, harmony, freedom, righteousness, and so many other things like this. She has mentioned few: beauty, harmony, freedom, righteousness. The other day you saw the ritual of the mystic star, where there was power, where there was wisdom, where there was love, where there was joy, there was beauty. They are the 5 aspects of the ultimate. So she is quoting few of the aspects or the intangible aspects of life, such as beauty, harmony, freedom, righteousness. And that is dharma. So when we say there is no religion higher than truth, as we discussed yesterday, truth has so many things rolled into that. Not just the ability to say only truth or not to say a lie. That's only the outer meaning of it. But all these things get into it. For example, the beauty, the harmony, the freedom to do the right action, not freedom to just misbehave with somebody, freedom to do the right action, because it's followed up by righteousness, dharma. So this is what Madam Ji is saying, and she says the above intangible values or assets are realities and are part of the overall consciousness, and human being, if he tries, can realize them. If he tries. If we don't try, we don't get it. Like yesterday we said, the food is there before you. If you don't apply or take the hand nearer to the plate and then take it nearer to the mouth, it won't go in. So simple as that. If we don't try, these things will not be part of our life. Man is said to have grown physically, externally. Man is said to have grown physically and externally, and man has developed spiritually too. Very few have done that. From inside, the spirituality has to help the individual to grow from inside. The physical growth is external. The spiritual growth is from inside. So when one can express, live, and identify with these eternal, permanent values, such as beauty, harmony, righteousness, etc. And when the spirit of man is perfectly aware of what's happening within, then he would be in position to perform actions based on dharma, based on righteousness. So, to perform actions based on dharma, based on righteousness, one has to grow within. The spirit has to be awakened. Externally, I may do anything, but that's not of any consequence. So, Radhaji is very clear. She has talked about what is righteous action. And then there is one segment, the next segment, which talks about the sources of happiness. The sources of happiness. We know we have lists of them which will give you, as we said yesterday, pleasure, joy, maybe happiness, because sometimes we recall that experience, we feel happy about it. That's why joy and happiness are together perhaps. But there is another thing, great quality called bliss. So, Radhaji says, India's or the country's consciousness, like we have a national karma, all of us make a combined consciousness. So she says, India's or country's consciousness was synonymous with intelligence and bliss. That's the fact. But we work against it simply because we don't agree with it. That is, as someone said yesterday, Sat Chit Ananda. Intelligence, truth. Sat is truth, Chit is perhaps the intelligence, what the Chit will contribute to our living. Ananda, which is a byproduct or the direct result of how we take those two together. All living creatures seek happiness. All living creatures seek happiness. But yesterday we heard from her, animals do not know what is sorrow. They exist. Maybe they are happy, but they don't know what is sorrow. But they can register the pain which a man is inflicting on them. That's a different aspect. But they are not sorrowful any point of time. But man is sorrowful because he aims at one thing and that's slipping out of his hand, is unhappy. So she's saying, all living creatures seek happiness. Perhaps we should read it as all living human beings seek happiness. So happiness is a natural desire, now she says, a natural desire for all human beings. So man is actually not conscious when he is happy. Man is actually not conscious when he is happy. He takes it for granted. I should get happiness, I got it. I'm not very, very conscious. Somewhere I read some time back. Happiness is like a butterfly which comes and lands on your shoulder when you're least conscious of it. It is very light. You really don't know. It has landed on your shoulder. Happiness is like that. So, man is not conscious when he is happy. He will not question how so much of happiness is coming into me, coming into my life. Because, as I said some time back, he thinks it's a right to be happy. So much of happiness has come to me, but I don't seem to be thankful that so much of happiness has been given to me. But if the happiness is missing, for some reason, it could be me or it could be somebody else, I think that somebody has been the cause of my unhappiness. So if some reason the happiness is missing from one's life, he blames it on God and the outer circumstances. This is what we see normally. Perhaps members of the Theosophical Society who know the law of karma will not say that. And we will also not say, like in some languages use the tougher karma. No, it is karma. What I did, I am getting it back. Karma, when you say, my God, this is descending on me. See, this is the difference. So, happiness is missing for some reason from his life. He blames it on God. God, what are you doing to me? I was been very good to everybody in this life. But what about the past life? We don't know. So, he blames it on God and the outer circumstances. It could be a man, it could be an object, or it could be a person. So, he blames outsiders or outside circumstances. And because of that cognizance of the external, he becomes bitter. He becomes bitter. And they say, it is said by, I think, Tolstoy, difficulties in life are there to make you better and not bitter. Difficulties in life are there to make you better, not bitter. This is Tolstoy. But we don't take it like that. We think, my God, I've got this. How do I escape this? How do I duck from this? So this is the attitude of an ordinary human being. I'm not talking about the members of the Theosophical Society, because we know what is law of karma. So, law of karma, when we know how to live without struggling with the circumstances. We accept as it comes, then it's beautiful. There used to be a cricket commentator by name Tyler Khan. Take it from me, he used to say. He was the only commentator, no second commentator, Tyler Khan. Take it from me, he used to say. Like that, accept what comes. If that is taken, that is well taken, I think we are better off. But when we want to do something else, we want that action which is emanating from the law of karma, that should take away or go off from us. That's where the bitterness is coming. And man is busy seeking and searching for happiness. Most of the time we are busy from the time we get up in the morning, whether my coffee is there or something else is there, which suits my taste. Because I'm unhappy, as my wife said yesterday, if the poha is used for making upma, it sticks inside. That's the feeling I had from my childhood. So I'm not quite happy about it. So man is busy seeking and searching for happiness in objects and people. In objects and people. So this is what man is continuously doing. Happiness is there as a flash of light. We said some time back it's so light as a butterfly. But here the statement says happiness is there and it appears as a flash of light. But sorrow is like one's shadow. You can't escape from your shadow. There was a beautiful movie which came long back when I was in college or school, I don't remember exactly. Masroor Sultanpuri. He wrote a lyric in that movie called Dosti. सुख है एक छाव चलती आती जाती है दुख तो अपना साथी है. This is Masroor Sultanpuri for you. And we get a lot of wisdom even from the, like yesterday Harshvardhan ji was singing, "A kaun chitrakar hai." How do we know who did all this? Who created all this? Who did it? A kaun chitrakar hai. So that's how, even from the, we think it's a movie song, but there is a lot of wisdom. So what I'm saying is, the sukh comes, or the happiness comes, or it appears as a flash of light, but sorrow is like one's shadow. You're there, the sun's rays on you, the shadow is also walking along with you. So it's like that. And as long as we are depending on the outside objects and people to make us happy, this will continue. But if you look within and try to identify the source which gives permanent happiness, you're better off. But then I seek happiness by looking out. So the persons, the objects, They are the causes, or they are the reasons for me to feel happy. And this has been happening not in this incarnation. For incarnations we have been doing this. Man is caught and getting tossed in this Bhava Sagara. You're born, so you're in an ocean. Bhava is you're born, so you're in an ocean. And you're swimming against the tide. That's the feeling. If I'm going with the tide, I'm happy, but I'm struggling. In that struggle is sadhana. When I'm trying to overcome the wave which is trying to take me inside, the Bhava Sagara, because that Sagara is there because I'm born. And he's born into that, getting tossed in that sea, ocean. It's all imaginary, Bhava Sagara. But it is said so that we should understand what Bhava Sagara is. Man, after many births, many incarnations, realizes going outwards to seek joy, happiness, is a journey which is based on false grounds. Is a journey which is based on false grounds. So, when man's inner journey commences, and his consciousness slowly gets unfolded. As you walk on the path, the consciousness gets unfolded. So, as it gets unfolded, slowly, and then he realizes the awareness with which the consciousness is growing and helping him to grow. And that growth can lead to the real happiness. That growth which starts from inside, when I've started looking within me, and not looking outside me, and seeking that happiness in objects and people. When I look within, so that's when the real journey commences. And the consciousness keeps growing when I'm walking within me, and that can lead to the real happiness. And we experience happiness by wishing for the repetition of the same thing which gave me happiness last time. I've eaten a gulab jam, I think day before yesterday. So the sweetness is still there in my system. So I want another gulab jam even today. See, I'm recalling it. That's the experience which we recall, and the repetition of the experience is what an ordinary man is wanting it back again. So Adi Shankara said, the mirror of consciousness has to be kept clean. The mirror of consciousness has to be kept clean and free from dust related to desires. We have got the consciousness. If we call that a mirror, there is a lot of dust which has gathered because we have not been cleaning it, we are not looking into it. So that mirror of consciousness has to be kept clean and free of dust related to desires. So desires are the reason why the mirror of consciousness is getting dusted. We are getting covered. So we don't get to see the real thing inside. All these covers, they are coming in the way, they are obstacles. So in that state of consciousness where everything seems to be clean, or you have taken efforts to use your sankalpa to clean that consciousness, that's a bigger vacuum cleaner we have inside. We use vacuum cleaner to clean our homes, but if we have got a sankalpa bala, the strength of sankalpa, that's a better, bigger vacuum cleaner which will clean us from inside. And if that happens, the consciousness becomes clean, and then we earn the capacity to reflect truth. Yes. So Radhaji says, the mind which is free of all bondages. See, she's got a wonderful way of taking us to the next segment by mentioning towards the end what she is going to say in the next segment. So she's saying, the mind which is free of all bondages reaches nirvana or moksha, shares the ancient wisdom. It is the saying of the ancient wisdom. The mind which is free of all bondages reaches nirvana of moksha or moksha, says the ancient wisdom. These bondages can be with objects, with persons, with experiences, various things. If you get rid of this, you get nirvana. So while living, one can get moksha. As some people believe, moksha is something which I get after I die, is not right. Freedom from attachment, which you will discuss, it comes when we really have the ability to chop off what is not required, chop off, mercilessly take it away. I don't want this. Like something is there, like cancer was there with Ramana. He didn't even take anesthesia, but he wanted somebody to remove it. He just kept the hand like that. So that way of chopping off what is not required, if it is possible, which is practiced in a different school of philosophy, if the chopping takes place, then moksha comes or nirvana comes. So from ages we know this information, that moksha comes when we are free of the bondages. This knowledge we have, but it has remained only as a knowledge. That's the unfortunate part of it. It has remained only as a knowledge because man has not taken that, converted it, internalized it, and didn't walk with that. So walk the talk, as people say. That has not happened. So that's the reason why there is a problem. We're not able to get that moksha or liberation. To the extent possible in our daily life, if we can do away with it. There is an object which gives me comfort and it's not there in another place where I've gone. I should be able to live comfortably. At home I have AC, I don't sweat at all. Okay, fine. But here is a fan. Take it. But we are somehow got entangled in these objects which give us happiness and comfort. So the repetition of an experience leads to what? Habit formation. And people say habits die hard. You have to struggle to, every time you repeat a habit, you're putting a rope around you, rope around your consciousness. But you have to unwind it, it requires more. The winding becomes easy, the unwinding takes more time and more sadhana is required. So habits die hard. Sometimes only death puts an end to some of the habits, but the person who is attached to the physical body or the habits which has formed well in the physical body, he carries them to the higher planes too. So death doesn't really put an end to the habits. Suppose I am someone who visits the bar every evening. Even the next plane I go see my friends where they're sitting in Bombay bar in habits and try to touch them, try to hold the glass which they're trying to hold, feel miserable. That's hell. Because I want to enjoy that, I'm not able to enjoy that. That's hell. So this is what happens to a person who is wedded to habits. Right. In death, what happens is sometimes we put an end to those habits which we have gathered over a period of time. And death also, there is a fear. In death, there is a fear of losing something personal. Something of me is going. Somebody is related to me is going. But I can live with that consciousness. But I can draw that consciousness whenever I need. But that's rarely some people do. But I always remember the person who passed away and say, oh yes, he passed away and my life has come to zero. It is not a zero. He has gone to say that you should walk forward, make century. This is the real story. So it could be losing the objects or losing the psychological desires like lust for life, power, position, recognition, and sometimes the fear is losing someone very closely related. Someone is sick at home. I'm scared he might go. He will go. You can't stop it. but we have the fear. That fear is mortal. It is not something is eternal. Over a period of time, maybe after 6 months or 1 year, you forget that incident happened, right? You don't, whenever you perhaps think once in a year about him, yes, he was there with me. So this is what she's saying. And we talked about HPB's diagram of meditation yesterday. She's also saying the same thing. How to remove deprivations, how to take in acquisitions. So divine qualities like love, compassion, provided we take them in as acquisitions, we become better individuals from inside, not from outside. Human nature should understand, human beings should understand. Amongst all this confusion, if I remember that there is one unity, ekata, if I remember that, there is no problem. But the minute I think I am separate, I am suffering, everybody seems to be enjoying, that's where the problem is. So if we remember the unity behind everything, there is no unhappiness. Attachment of getting closely associated with a form. Attachment of getting closely associated with a form, with objects, with persons, is binding us to this world. Attachment, undue attachment, not due attachment. I said some time back, there's a beautiful pen which somebody gifted. And that pen goes, I don't even remember who gave it to me, but the pen is gone. That's more worry to me. I don't remember the person who was very kind to provide me with a pen, but I remember the object has gone from me. So attachment of getting closely associated with a form, with objects, with persons, is actually binding us to this world. Live in this world and come to our world if you really want to realize. Don't get immersed in this world. Try to live off this world. It's possible, but we think this is the only way of living in the world, celebrating our presence in this world. But sometimes we remember, yes, when the time comes, maybe I'll have to leave. Everybody knows this, but then that is far off somewhere. That's what people say. But then that net of death is always there on our head, or like a Damocles sword, as people say. And anytime it can fall. But we guess or we estimate that, oh, I've got a lot of life. I've got too much of time. I can do this tomorrow, next year. It's not true. So attachment of getting closely associated with the form, with objects and persons is binding us to this world. And wanting to be recognized. I want to be something. I want to be something. I want to be recognized as a person worthy of adulation. So that is causing me the problem. So she says, wanting to be recognized or describing to be is a disability in yoga. Where is Dhrupanda? He is not to be. Oh, you can relate this when you have time. Wanting to be recognized or desiring to be is a disability in yoga. And man wants to perpetuate the memory of events, persons in various forms. Man wants to perpetuate the memory. He wants to continue with that memory because it's pleasant. So he wants to perpetuate the memory of events, of persons in various forms. So this is what she said about sources of happiness. And then we move to the another segment. We have time. Desire to be. This to be is in inverted commas. We are something, we wanted to be, or we want to be something. That's the crux of the issue. Desire to be could be related to achievements, desires, acquiring a position, so on and so forth. So I'm a desire, I should be remembered for all times. So that's why I put up a statue. There was a person who put up a statue in one of the Theosophical lodges, and John B.S. Coates was inaugurating it. He came and asked me, "Do you put a statue when the man is alive?" I said, "He wants to see the statue, how it looks when he goes off. That's why he has put it when he's alive." So there are people who would like to put up statues when they're living. We take photographs. It's something very similar to that. Putting a statue, bigger thing. So desire to be could be related to achievements, desires. There is a desire that I should be remembered for what I did or what I achieved. All these achievements and what I did should sit light, should be something which I have left behind. The desire for fame continues. These desires and the remnants which are called vasanas, they will affect or they will decide our next birth. Also, one good thing, music, poetry, or any faculties like this, they will also decide what sort of life I would take next time. Say, this time I know music, but I didn't perform publicly. Not that I like to, I prefer to sing when I'm alone. But suppose the musician is there who has not taken it to the logical conclusion of making a lot of people happy by his voice, and he has lived with that music towards the end of his life also. That faculty, or a poet, someone like a professor like Harshvardhanji who is sitting here. So those people who carry that faculties also, that essence will get into the causal body, and so he comes back with those faculties. Otherwise, how do you explain these people who can perform at the age of 8 and 12 and things like that? There's a girl right now by name Sri Mukhi. Some of these people must have heard her. She is someone who could identify ragas when she was 3-year-old. And Balamurali Krishna, if you remember the name, some South Indians would be able to remember. He performed his concert when he was 8 years old. And his guru told everybody, he is calling me guru, but I only sort of given certain new additions. Already he knows. And once Mr. Balamurali Krishna was asked the question, "You know music?" See the humility with which he answered, No, it's wrong. Music knows me." You know music, he has composed in 72 Melakartas. That is the achievement he has done. But he says, "I don't know music. Music knows me." And there was another great lady in Tamil Nadu, which people from Tamil Nadu would know, D.K. Pattammal, great singer, D.K. Pattammal. And I know her teacher also, luckily, because he was teaching still when I was learning music at Kalakshetra. So that gentleman used to say, when he used to go to their house early morning at 4 o'clock, she wouldn't come out of the sleep. She would fight with her father. "Why are you waking up so early? I can learn music even at 7 o'clock. But those days there used to be a practice of getting up early and even taking bath with cold water, hugging a pot. You know, this is some practice which people used to do, hugging a pot with cold water and then practice. This is something which she did. And then when she was 82 at Hyderabad, she was being honored. They were putting gold on her head in the form of flowers. And she said, "When I thought I knew the frontiers of music, my life is over. When I now realize I know only the frontiers of music, the outer peripheral areas of music, my life is over." This is exactly what we all are in. So there is not much of time. So this is something which we need to inculcate and move forward. So the poetry and music also helps, the faculties also help in getting to the next birth. And in the morning we were talking about how the thoughts of Blavatsky and Krishnamurti are similar. Krishnaji. Krishnamurti means Krishnaji. They are very similar. Madam passed away in 1891. He was born in 1896, if I'm right. Some people say, some people have opined, Blavatsky, because she couldn't complete her agenda, has she taken this form? This is a thought which crossed that gentleman's mind who made a very good research of Blavatsky and Krishnaji. He has written books on Blavatsky because he believed in Blavatskism and Krishnaji too. And he said, is there a connection? Is there a relationship? Because the same thought, same vicharadhara is going. Maybe true. So when there is an unfinished agenda, people come back quickly. But what Blavatsky says in Key to Theosophy, an ordinary man takes 700 years to come back. An ordinary man takes 700 years to come back, but then there is an agenda which I have left, which needs to be completed. I am permitted to come back quickly, finish the agenda, and maybe I'll go at 16. Agenda is over, so I don't have to live another 100 years. So this is what is life, rebirth or reincarnation. And someone was asking the other day, why doesn't Krishnaji talk about reincarnations? And somebody in the early morning discussions asked him, sir, you have been put in that book, The Lives of Alcyone. You were a lady sometime back. He was, sir, please stop. What does it matter if I was a king or a beggar in the last life? What am I now is relevant and important. That's what he said. Are they still publishing the book, sir? He looked at me because he knew I'm coming from Adyar. He said, I don't know. That book, he said, it should not be published. Some investigation they have done. The book is out of print, but somebody brings it out from somewhere and makes a talk on that. He never wanted even a mention of it. What does it matter whether I'm a king last time or a beggar last time? What am I now is more important. Don't you think there is a message there? We think I should get the next life better. No. If you do well now, the next life could be better. If I have been doing all the wrong things and expecting that I would get a good life, not possible. So she is very clear, Blavatsky is very clear with that. And people resort to mediums, visit seance rooms. It's from the seance rooms Theosophy was born. Most of you know the history, early history. So most of us are not quite aware of the early history of the Theosophical Society. And so we know only from the three objects, Alcott, Blavatsky, but there was a lot of work which was done even before 73, 72 onwards, 1872 I mean. So, living a life, a contented life with no material desires, and if we can make the astral body clean, kept that astral body, you know how to take care of this physical body. We wash, we perhaps put that advertisement which I see in the cricket, because I still watch cricket. Fog. That doesn't make you clean. Something from inside has to become clean. Sankalpa, as we talked about some time back, that cleans better. So, if one is able to lead the contented life, and if the astral body is kept clean, one can be happy now and happy later. Later means next life. We normally concentrate to be happy now, but are we sowing the seeds to to live happily later. We want the next life to be happy. But am I sowing the seeds now? Like somebody said, I am sowing a seed of mango tree. My grandchildren might enjoy the fruits, but there are certain fruits which I can myself, the permanent self can enjoy. If I do good things now, good seeds which I put it into the ground of my consciousness, yes, I can benefit from it. So this is what she is saying. We have to get happiness from the existing circumstances that are existing around us. Being satisfied, being happy is only a state of mind. And Anna Besant talking about living with a contentment, she says contentment is a continuous feast. Today I had only 2 courses, yesterday I had only 1. No, if one is living with contentment, trupti, it is a continuous feast. Mrushtanna bhojan. It has everything. It has kheer, it has so many things rolled into plate, put in that plate. So that is the most important thing, having contentment and gratitude. That's also another wonderful quality all of us have to remember. If these 2 things are there, next life could be better. So this is what Madam said about the sources of happiness and how one should live with contentment and how one should care for living so that I don't disturb the peace, I don't disturb the harmony, I don't tread another man's toes. I should be very careful. I don't have to go forward treading another man's toes, pushing the other man away from my way. If I'm in a hurry, can I ask, sir, can I go? My flight is about to take off, can I go? If he allows you, you go, otherwise you miss the flight because you have come late to the place where you are supposed to catch a flight. So simple as that. But people with their luggage or hand luggage, they push you and do all the, I have to catch a flight. They'll say, yes, catch a flight, no doubt. But that flight of life which you are about to catch, there's no hurry there, there is only sadhana there. If you hurry, you don't catch the flight. If there is sadhana, you catch that flight. So this is something about the sources of happiness. And then she talks about desire to be. And she says reincarnation is an integral part of several religions of the East. Reincarnation, punarjanma. Reincarnation is an integral part of several religions of the East. We suffer what we have done in the past. But we don't realize it. But sometimes, perhaps, when we know the truth, know the law of karma in toto, or at least in portions, we do say, we suffer for what we have done in the past to others. We draw our lines. We draw our lines. Nobody else has drawn it for us. We draw our lines and lead the life as per those self-inked lines. I have inked it. I have drawn it. So I'll have to live within those boundaries. So we get to lead our lives based on the lines I have drawn. I get to lead the life I have drawn. There are certain things, certain boundaries which I have kept, certain imbalances which I have created. So that has to be paid back. That's the reason why somebody is in this life cheating me by taking money. But that perhaps I have done in the previous incarnation. I have borrowed somebody's money. So that's what is happening to me now. The Christian religion says man has to progress in this life. That's what all they say. They don't say you have another life so you can be relaxed this time. They don't say that. The Christian religion says man has to progress in this life. Though the earlier versions of Christianity talked about reincarnation, but the altered Christianity talks about man has to progress in this life. If man fails to do so, according to Christianity, he'll be pushed into the eternal hell. That's the sort of stick they show. So, do well. So, that's why they say when the coffin is put in the grave, rest in peace. Till what time? Till the day of judgment comes. So, rest in peace. So, when somebody responds, when somebody has passed away, RIP, RIP, and RIP, I think, why are we borrowing this? We don't rest in peace in hell. We have to go to the next plane, and next plane, and drop all these bodies also which are temporary. So where is the question of rest? And the real thing always lives. Buddhi, Manas, Atma, that lives always. The higher one is always active. But we have a feeling, since the attachment is more to this physical body, oh, I'm gone, I'm dead, I'm gone. But somebody told me very recently, you're not gone in sleep, you're living in sleep, you're talking in sleep, you're singing in sleep. So the same thing happens when you're dead. That gives me consolation, right? I'm not dead. My sister had near-death experience, my elder sister. She told me, my brother-in-law, whom I used to be scared of, he was eldest of the lot. She used to be scared of that person. She wouldn't even come before him and talk. That's the order of that family, that culture of that family. That gentleman took her on the shoulder and rushed to the hospital and gave his blood to revive her. And she could see all the people around her body, or that motionless body, crying. Husband was crying. Mother-in-law was crying. This man said, come on. He took her onto the shoulder and rushed to the hospital nearby, and she was saved. She is now there living. And she says, we see everything happening when we are dying. We see everything happening when we are dying, because Deadbeater says that there's going to be a movie which will come, where from the day I have consciously done something, that entire thing is going to come as a picture before me to just remind me what are all the things which I have done wrong. What are all the justices which I have to do in the next life? That will come as a picture. Maybe, yes, there are a lot of good things I have done. That also will come. It's a continuous movie. Maybe it will finish in 15 seconds or 30 seconds. What is it? But still the entire life is captured. This is what Deadbeater says in the textbook of Theosophy. So, if we remember all that, if we are conscious of all that, I think we will not misbehave with anyone, with any creature. Somebody told me while walking, why do you look down? I said, I don't want to trample on the things which are crawling on the road. Adiyar, it's very difficult to walk because every other minute there is something which is crossing your road. But if you look up and walk, you kill them. So that's not part of our job. Right. Even after knowing all about reincarnations, wise ones like Lord Buddha and Krishna ji never discussed about reincarnation at length. They discussed perhaps with close circuit of people, with their close disciples. Maybe Ananda knew what Buddha thought, but he didn't talk about it in open meetings. In fact, open meetings are all parables, as H.P. Blavatsky says. It is all in stories. The stories had different layers of meaning, but the person who listens to the story only listens to the story. But there is another meaning, antarleena meaning, or inherent meaning, or meaning which is not apparent in that story, which only few people knew, because he chose to talk to few, and he expected those few, without diluting, without adding anything of their own color, would give the truths to others. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Every religion had their own followers, and the followers did damage to the original truths which were propounded. And if you do an exercise which people do in communication in the personality development cases, 2 people sit here and 3 people sit there. this person who is told a particular thing has to go and tell that to the other group without changing anything. But everybody changes to their convenience. This is what happens in life. So this is what Buddha also thought in those days, and Krishna ji also thought in those days. But Krishna ji also had his own set of people who were very close to him, who could vibe with him, who could understand him correctly. So he has discussed a lot of other details, including the existence of masters and how their intelligence works through us. Those things are available, but in general he will not talk, because he will give more importance to those things rather than the truth. Oh, we don't know their consciousness, but we bring them down, isn't it? Most of the time we say, masters are there, masters have brought us here, masters have done this to me. We should be with reverence. We should be with that sort of a respect towards them. We should raise our consciousness to that level, not bring them down. My friend used to say, there is no interruption of power. The speaker says, Master was with us. No, his job is not that of an electrician. Unfortunate, we bring those wiser ones into these forms. So the emphasis Buddha and Krishna ji gave was in living in the present, but no importance has been given to future lives. If the present is well taken care of, the future is bound to be good. So take care of the present. Don't get back and say something else I have to do now. So either I do the present, nor I can do something which I have to do in the future. So take care of the present. 2 more minutes for breaking for the question answers, if there are questions. Though reincarnation is a fact, man has to seek freedom from sorrow. Though reincarnation is a fact, man has to seek freedom from sorrow and ignorance, avidya. Actually, freedom from desire, freedom from attachment is what man should seek. Freedom from desire, at the feet of the Master says, desirelessness. So, freedom from desire and freedom from attachment is what man has to seek. Why he should do that? To make his luggage light. You shouldn't carry heavy karma to make his luggage light. There was a very rich man who used to employ a munshi to write the accounts. The assistant munshi who was always eyeing at that post of munshi. Unfortunately, as time decided, the munshi passed away. And munshi's son came and informed the owner of the firm, Sir, my father passed away. He will not be able to come for duty, so I am going back home. He was asked to stop, and the owner gave him 2,000 rupees. Please spend this for whatever purposes it may be of use. This assistant munshi, who already occupied the chair of the munshi, went on asking the owner, Sir, to which account I should debit this? He was quite concerned. Why is this man is giving it to the man who is no more? He's gone. So he asked him in the morning, asked him in the afternoon. He came back and asked, Sir, I'm going home now, but I have not debited those 2,000. To which account I should? The owner said, packing and forwarding. Put it to packing and forwarding. See, the wise man, the owner, said, you carry with you what you have done, and less luggage, more comfort is there in the railways. But it is also true when we carry what we are, by shedding out all that we have to shed here. This physical life, if it's good, the next life will be good. So this is something which everybody said, and Madam said about that. So reincarnation may be a fact, but man has to seek freedom from sorrow And ignorance and actually freedom from desire, freedom from attachment is what man should seek to make his luggage light. We'll stop here for possible questions and answers. Yes. No questions, I'll carry on. Chat box also, very good. Announcement, yes, at 10:30. No, not now. Now the session. No, without mic, I'm able to hear well. With the mic, it's blaring. Oh, somebody I'm seeing. Yeah. What does it say? No, not audible.
Will you read what he has written? Can you write in the chat box, Shitalji? Please write in the chat box. You are not audible.
We'll move before the question becomes readable or audible. Yes. You want a mic? Question.
Yes, that is the one word that we use, void. So void, is it a split second? Or void is something which is not understood by someone and suddenly it is understood. So what you just mentioned about Robert Frost yesterday, wonderful poem, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening. So that time he writes again, stopping between the frozen lake and the wood. So my horse must think it clear. And then he writes, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, and I have promises to keep. And again, two lines are repeated, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Now here, the horse thinks it clear why the poet is stopping there. So that is the void. The split second void, or the void of one life, or the void in what way? Because Radhaji also mentioned the same thing. So is that the enlightenment? The void, suddenly it happens? Is there something, a kind of process?
Yeah. To the extent I know, I'll try to supplement an answer-like thing. I won't say it's an answer. Madame Blavatsky talks about, she uses the present connotation of that word is different, but the meaning at that point of time was void, chaos. In the Secret Doctrine, she talks about chaos. But chaos, as we now understand, is confusion. But she was talking about an emptiness and a full of that, the space which is all filled with that emptiness. That emptiness is there in me too, but I'm conscious of it or I'm not conscious of it. It depends on how I'm living with that emptiness. And when we're talking about a flash, illumination could come in a flash because I have started living or have assembled my faculties to live in the higher mental, and suddenly there is a spike to the next plane. Fifth plane, and I'm in the fifth subplane 7. There are 7 subplanes in each plane. So I'm somehow managed to climb to the 7th subplane of my 5th principle, and then I'm staying there because there are people who do bhajans there in one plane, people who are doing meditation there in another plane, people who are chanting there in a third plane. So like that, 7th subplane, if I propel myself there, if I put myself there, and if I know how to be there, suddenly there is a spike to the next principle. And that is buddhi prachodan. That is illumination. So A lot of people who have got that spike, in a flash they knew everything. In a flash they knew everything. They remained humane, they remained as human beings, they moved around with all the people, but then that illumination was part of them. So that is that voidness which he talks about. There is voidness in me. There is also a lot of unnecessary information which I've created and stored in my being, which I think is very important. Like we talked some time back of chopping away what is not required. If that happens, if that removal, like we do in the computer, emptying the recycle bin sometimes. We have put a lot of things in that recycle bin. Sometimes we empty the recycle bin. If you do it and it stays empty for some time, it's not a flash, it stays in that empty space. And you're better off with that emptiness, which can take over your consciousness, or consciousness can be part of that. You are merged into that void, and the consciousness real and the emptiness here, the emptiness which is there in space, is a connection which is formed. And the connection, if it becomes strengthened, I think the journey is coming to the end. The eternal journey, or the journey, obligatory journey which we talk of, is perhaps one is nearing. We have to make an attempt after all.
Yes. So that last question is this, that is called the weeding process. Yes.
They will not hear.
I got the point and I'm really satisfied in a way. But that weeding process.
Weeding.
Yes,
Weeding away.
So, that requires the efforts.
Yes.
Lots of efforts.
Yes.
Lots of difficulties are there, and we have to weed. And again, those the grass that is not required, or the whatever the unnecessary things are there, that we have to remove. So that is the weeding process. So is it our particular intention to go with that, or is it that void which enlightens us abruptly, suddenly? That is my question.
Again, Madam Blavatsky talks about these weeds and how we make that kshetra, that area, free of these weeds. So it's a continuous process to remove the weeds. An agriculturist does that to see that the crop which he grows becomes good. If the weeds are there along with, I believe the crops won't come. But these days, I believe they're putting a particular chemical which will kill the grass. But along with killing the grass, it is killing the intrinsic value or the ability to produce crop which is there in the earth. So which man perhaps is not quite aware. His object is to kill the grass. And in the process, he is killing the life-giving properties of the earth. So this is what's happening. So this weeding process, or removing process, emptying process, is something which you can do every night. If you have planted something afresh in the morning, and I have perhaps not properly behaved with someone properly, if I've used the wrong word, if I used the wrong expression, I don't get sleep, because I have made a mistake. I have to realize that mistake. I have to correct that mistake. Even if that person is not there before me, I still seek pardon or seek that sort of a readjustment. Even if that person physically is not available, I talk to that consciousness and say, kindly take care of me and forgive me. If this we can do, there's a lot of things, the weeding will take place. But if we think, okay, that I was entitled to say that. No, we're not entitled to say that. The other day I made a mistake. There's a story, there was a Brahmin, poor Brahmin at Nizamabad. I think it's very relevant to this. And he took some money from the money lender in the market. And he promised a particular date on which he would repay. The Brahmin said there is a date on which I will repay, and he couldn't repay because he is depending on alms and ceremonies and something which would give him money. Nothing was there. so he couldn't repay. So that man came and abused him. This happened in Nizamabad, which is a town nearer to Hyderabad. That moneylender came and abused him in choicest of abuses. This man went on listening, and wife and children asked him, "Why are you not talking back? What is there to talk back? I have done a mistake. I couldn't keep up my word, so I have to take the words. And one more thing, all the abuses he has given, I have simply heard, I have not accepted." So where are the abuses? They're with him. So to cleanse himself, he chanted the name of Shiva, of whose devotee he was, right through the night, right through the night, right through the night. And he didn't sleep at all. And when he opened the door early morning, his wife asked him to open the door. That moneylender was sitting outside on the, in villages or in towns, good old days, we used to have tinne. Tinne means a place, elevated place where people can wait and perhaps rest if they're travelers. That sort of a accommodation we used to make. So he was sitting there, and this man was surprised and shocked. This man has again come back in the morning, and that moneylender fell at his feet and said, "I'm sorry, I have been rather overtaken by emotion that you have not paid on time." I said, No, you're right. When you scolded me, you were right. He says, "No, I was not right. Shiva came and appeared to me and said, you go and take pardon, beg a pardon." So that's what happens if somebody is very sincere, very innocent, his prayers are heard immediately. But if I'm having a lot of weeds, a lot of things which are already stuck in me, how can I reach? So this weeding process, or removing the things which are not required, is a practice which I do to get connected to the ultimate. So that's what he did, that old Brahmin did. So I think this is a continuous process, not a off and on practice. Yes.
Yeah, there is one question. Can we fry our past karma like fried seeds don't sprout?
Mm.
Can we fry our past karma like fried seeds don't sprout?
Yeah, when you put the seeds expose them to the heat, they don't sprout. When you put them in a moist cloth, they sprout. This is the story which we know, the practice which we know. But there's nothing like escaping a karma. If I've set the ball in motion, I'll have to face it. It comes, I'll have to face it. Sometimes we think we duck and we think we are escaping. But if you have seen most of those clocks in the good old days, where the pendulum used to swing, as a child I used to hold the pendulum and release it, and it would go like this. So that's exactly how karma will come and hit back. I've ducked all right, but like that pendulum which I released comes back at such a velocity, that's how the ducked karma will come back and hit me when I don't know. It will come here, hit me. So there is no question of frying the karma. We have to face the karma, enjoy the karma.
Thank you, sir.
This announcement Shindeji has given